Have you ever wondered how you can get an AI to be, a little more creative? Or maybe the opposite, more factual and straight to the point? Well, it's not magic, it's all about the settings. So today, we're going to demystify the three core parameters that give you control over pretty much any large language model: temperature, top K, and top P. It really can feel like magic, can't it? You type in a question, and this perfectly formed answer just appears. But what if I told you that you can actually fine-tune that magic? That there are controls you can use to shape the output? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's get you into the driver's seat. All right, first things first. Before we can start twisting any dials or pushing any buttons, we really need to peek under the hood. We've got to understand the most fundamental part of this whole process. How does an AI actually choose what word to say next? So here's the secret. It all boils down to one thing: probability. When you give a large language model, or an LLM, a prompt, it's not thinking in the human sense. Nope. It's running these massive calculations to predict the single most likely word to come next, based on the mountains of data it was trained on. Let's make this real with an example that we're going to stick with. Imagine you type, "The capital of India is." Instantly, the model generates a ranked list of possible next words, each with its own probability score. Delhi, obviously, is the massive favorite at 85%. But way down the list, you might find something totally random, like pizza, with a probability that's practically zero. This ranked list, this is the foundation for everything we're about to control. Okay, so we've got this list of words and their probabilities. How do we start messing with it? Well, our first control is something called temperature. And the best way to think about it is as the AI's creativity knob. It lets us dial up or dial down the randomness of the response. And how does it work? It actually goes in and tinkers with those probability scores we just saw. A low temperature sharpens the differences, making the top choice even more likely to be picked. But a high temperature, it flattens everything out, giving those less likely underdog words a much better shot at being chosen. So, with a low temperature, the model is playing it super safe. It's almost always going to pick Delhi. But when you crank that temperature up, the odds change. Suddenly, Mumbai and even Chennai become real possibilities. This is how you get those more varied, creative, and sometimes just plain weird responses. Here's a perfect analogy for it. A low temperature puts the AI in a kind of exam mode. It's focused, it's serious, it's just trying to get the facts right. But a high temperature switches it over to storytelling mode, where it's willing to take some risks and explore more imaginative paths. Next up, we have top K. Now, if temperature is about adjusting the mood of the AI, top K is much more direct. It's about limiting the number of options the AI is even allowed to think about. It's a filter based on a simple count. The rule here is super straightforward. You set a number, which we call K, and the model will only look at the top K most probable words. Everything else, it gets completely ignored no matter what its probability was. Let's go back to our example. If we set top K to 3, the model's entire world shrinks to just 3 words: Delhi, Mumbai, and Chennai. That ridiculous option, pizza? The chance of the AI saying it is now absolute zero because it's not even in the running anymore. It's been filtered out completely. I love this way of thinking about it. You're basically the bouncer at a club. You get to decide the size of the guest list. Are you only letting in the top 3 A-listers, or are you opening the doors to the top 50? You control the size of the crowd that the AI gets to choose from. And that brings us to our third and final parameter, top P. You might also hear this called nucleus sampling. And the name kind of makes sense because it creates a nucleus of the most likely words. This is another way to filter the choices, but instead of using a fixed count like top K, it uses a dynamic probability threshold. Okay, so here's how it works. You set a probability value, let's say 0.9 or 90%. The model then starts going down its ranked list of words, adding them one by one until their combined probability crosses that 90% threshold you set. So in our example, if we set top P to 0.9, the model first looks at Delhi, which has a probability of 0.85. That's not enough to hit our 0.9 target. So it adds the next word, Mumbai, which is 0.10. Together, their combined probability is 0.95. Boom. That crosses our threshold, so the model stops right there. Only Delhi and Mumbai are even considered. It's adaptive. This is a really powerful concept. Top P isn't about a fixed number of options. It's about building this coalition of the likely until the model hits a certain confidence level. So if one word is a massive favorite, the pool of options might just be that one word. But if the probabilities are more spread out, the pool gets bigger to match. It's flexible.
Whew, okay. So we've looked at temperature, top K, and top P one by one. Now for the fun part. Let's bring them all together onto our new AI control panel and see how they work in the real world to shape the AI's output.
Let's do a quick recap of the key differences here. Temperature is all about randomness. It adjusts the odds for every single contender. Top K is a hard limit. You're setting a fixed number of candidates, period. And top P is a flexible limit. It creates a dynamic pool based on a combined probability score.
Now, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. This is the crucial distinction. Temperature changes how the final choice is made from the list by reweighing all the odds. But top K and top P, they change which words are even on the list to begin with. One modifies the rules of the game, the others change which players get to be on the field.
So when should you actually use these things? Well, for tasks that need precision, like writing code or getting factual answers, you'll want a very low temperature and probably a restrictive top P. For creative writing or brainstorming marketing ideas, go ahead and crank that temperature up to get more surprising results. And for a nice, safe balance of creativity and coherence, a medium setting often works wonders. And there you have it, the 3 main knobs on your personal AI creativity machine. Just remember, temperature sets the mood, from serious to playful. Top K sets the crowd size, limiting your options. And top P sets the confidence boundary, creating that smart, adaptive pool of choices. By getting a feel for these settings, you really do move from being just a passive user to being an active director of the AI's behavior. You can tailor it for precision, for safety, or for wild, untamed creativity. So the only question left is, now that you have the controls, what are you going to create?